This week, we're in Virginia, where a civil trial is forcing a school district to face a shocking question: who's responsible when a 6-year-old brings a gun to school and shoots his teacher? Over 5 days, jurors heard Abigail Zwerner versus Dr. Ebony Parker, a case built on warnings that went unanswered. I'm Cody Thomas. Welcome back to On the Record. The courtroom was packed before 9 a.m. Now, the plaintiff's attorney, Diane Toscano, opened with a simple message: when teachers sound the alarm, administrators must answer. She said 4 staff members warned Assistant Principal Ebony Parker that a first grader, identified only as JT, might have a gun. Each time, Parker did nothing. The defense called that unfair hindsight. Attorney Daniel Hogan argued Parker was following policy and couldn't have predicted the unthinkable act of a 6-year-old shooting their own teacher. Now, day 1 ended with 2 stark choices: negligence or tragedy.
It's about 1:40. 2 additional staff members go to Dr. Parker. One goes into Dr. Parker's office and says, he just got off the phone with another first grade teacher. He wants to know, did you search JT? Dr. Parker says, yes, the backpack's been searched. He walks out. Shortly behind him comes in the guidance counselor. And he says to Dr. Parker, after speaking to others and being concerned that a student actually saw bullets or a gun in JT's pocket, says, can I search JT? So not only does Dr. Parker not leave her office and go down the hallway and take JT out of that classroom, not only does she not search him, she doesn't call the police, but she makes the decision to say to the guidance counselor, no, you cannot search the boy. She says, just wait. His mother will be here soon. Let her know. So now, the time is 1:58. Bang! Everybody nearby hears the sound of a gunshot. JT has now taken that firearm, pointed it at Abby, and pulled the trigger. You're gonna hear that bullet went into her hand, her left hand, through her hand, into the side of her left chest, where it still lies today, because it's too dangerous to remove. You're gonna hear how January 6, 2023 changed Abby's life forever. And you're gonna hear from the defense that you should excuse Dr. Parker's conduct on that day. You're gonna hear Dr. Parker was part of a team of teachers prior to January 6th that were working with JT to try to help correct some of those classroom behavior problems he had. And that's true. You're gonna hear that it was a 6-year-old child. Who would think a 6-year-old is gonna bring a gun to school and shoot their teacher? Members of the jury, it's Dr. Parker's job to believe that that is possible. It's her job to investigate it and to get to the very bottom of it. And to hope that that's not possible. But her job is to address it. You're gonna hear, Abby could have done more. But when you hear those arguments, I ask you to ask yourself, why did 4 different people go to Dr. Parker that day with this concern? 4 different staff, 4 different teachers total went to Dr. Parker. Because Dr. Parker was the assistant principal. Dr. Parker was in the chain of command. Dr. Parker had the authority to search a student. She had the authority to remove a student from the classroom. She had the authority to call the law enforcement. 4 opportunities to take decisive action and do that.
No one can see this coming. No one can see this coming. No one could predict that. Hindsight is 20/20. These are not my words. In the course of this trial, the evidence will show that these are the words of the staff and teachers we will hear from in this case. These are the people who were present and were affected by the shooting that occurred. Think carefully and ask yourselves, is it really foreseeable that a 6-year-old child would shoot their own teacher? Is that reasonably foreseeable? Was Dr. Parker indifferent? Did she fail to exercise at least some degree of care, even if it didn't work out? Did Abby Zwerner fail to take steps for her own safety? That's what you got to think about. Those are hard questions. Think carefully. You get one shot at this case. In jury selection, counsel talked about one of your roles. Your roles is like assessing the value of a diamond. Like it's a prize. There's a cash reward at the end of this case. You gotta assess it. This is not the Antiques Roadshow. This is a court of law. You assess witness credibility, which will be decided in the crucible of court. You will look at them. You will decide. You are deciding people's lives, careers. That is what is at stake. It is not a diamond. Apply the law. Trust your instincts.
Now, the plaintiff called Dr. Nina Farish, the district's HR director. She said Parker admitted she'd heard reports of a gun, but didn't act. District policy says administrators must assume a threat is real, remove the student, and call 911. Now, Farish said none of that happened. Music teacher John Sims backed that up, testifying he took calls from a teacher asking if the boy had been searched. Parker's reply, the backpack was checked. No one searched the child, though. By day's end, jurors saw how many chances were missed.
When you first arrived at Rich Neck, talk us through what you did in that moment.
We immediately went to the front door of the school, hit the buzzer, knocked on the doors, couldn't get in. It seemed like an eternity for us. Was probably about a minute of banging on the door till I think a janitor or a security person opened the door for us.
Corporal, can you walk us through what happened as you walked through this door, room 11?
As we stepped through the door, there was a young child attempting to be restrained by a woman later found out was Amy Kovac, the reading teacher. We were quite taken aback. We didn't expect to see so young a suspect. She said that she had control of him, that the gun was in the back of the classroom and pointed that way. I immediately headed in that direction. When I found the weapon on the floor, I called out that there was a gun, and I stood by. What
findings and observations did you come to as a review of your materials related to the first incidents of information conveyed to Dr. Parker?
My findings were that Dr. Parker did not take action that I think an assistant principal should have taken at that time. Hearing it the first time and not taking action, I don't know, what individuals were thinking at that time, but when it comes back up again, check the book bag, it's not there, but I'm getting reports that he has something in his pockets. That to me is a huge red flag. Take action. It's almost shocking the lack of action there, how things were not followed up on. It really does breach the standard of care.
You would agree that the first report that Dr. Parker received regarding JT was from Ms. Kovac?
Yes.
And Ms. Kovac investigated those reports before she went to see Dr. Parker, didn't she?
Correct.
Ms. Kovac did not confiscate JT's backpack.
She did not.
She did not remove JT from the room.
She did not.
And Ms. Zwerner did not confiscate JT's backpack, did she?
No.
And Ms. Zwerner did not remove JT from the room?
No.
Ms. Kovac didn't stop everything. Ms. Zwerner didn't stop everything. Ms. West didn't stop everything. And Mr. Rawls didn't stop everything, did they?
No.
I'm going to show you a video. See that picture of her? Or video, I should say.
Yeah.
What does that remind you of your sister before January 6, 2023?
Full of light and spark and just so outgoing and just silly.
Can you tell us about that light in Abby today?
It's still there. It is very dimmed. She's just not the person that she was. I feel like she's kind of lost her sense of direction in a way. Yeah, I think that she had a lot to be excited about, and she doesn't anymore.
One of the school's counselors testified that a student told him JT had bullets in his pocket and threatened to shoot him if he told. Now, the counselor alerted Parker, asking to search the boy. She said, wait for his mother. Now, minutes later, that gun went off. Now, that counselor also broke down, describing the aftermath, blood in the hallway, realizing the drill was real. Now, the defense said his memory was clouded by guilt, but his emotion hit hard.
In your evaluation of Ms. Zwerner, obviously we've talked about the facts of this case, but was there any reporting from her to you about her perceived risk of death?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, she believed that she was dying, that someone was trying to kill her, and that they had successfully made that attempt, and she was attempting to survive, and she was bleeding and had difficulty breathing and panicking, believing that that individual was following her and was going to finish the job.
And when we talk about areas of the forest that are burnt, right, areas of their life that are burnt that weren't burnt before, can you talk to us about what those areas in your observation are in Ms. Zwerner's life now that before January 6, 2023 were untouched, unaffected?
Oh yeah, sure. So right off, socially, she has lost the sense of being safe. Something that she had not experienced before, even when she was feeling depressed or anxious. She was anxious about certain things. She was anxious about stress here or at work or in school or something like this. But she felt safe. She felt safe to go to events where other people were. She felt safe to be around other people. She now doesn't want to go anywhere. She became socially withdrawn and isolative, pulled away from friends, didn't want to be in public as much, and felt fear in places that she didn't feel fear before, like the grocery store, feeling that she has to bring family members or friends along with her, so as support. The other piece was that her occupational functioning. This event had made her deal with such overwhelming distress about being in the classroom that she doesn't feel that she can go back to a classroom setting. She doesn't feel safe there, right? And one can imagine why, right? You're sitting in a classroom teaching, first graders. The last thing you expect is one of the first graders is going to pull out a gun and try to kill you.
Abby, I'm just going to ask you a few questions about January 6, 2023, okay?
Okay.
So tell the jury, when on that day did you first hear about JT might have a gun?
It was before recess.
And do you remember who told you that?
Amy Kovac.
And when Amy Kovac told you that, why did you not go to Dr. Parker?
I knew that she was going to tell Dr. Parker.
Did Amy tell you she was going to tell Dr. Parker?
Yes, she told me that she was going to tell Dr. Parker.
And did Amy tell you that two girls had advised her of the fact that JT might have a firearm?
Yes.
Were you told to keep an eye on JT by Amy?
Yes.
So Abby, now tell the jury, what did you see right before you were shot that day on January 6, 2023?
The moment went by very fast. I remember Dr. Watson touched on it briefly earlier. The look on the student's face is a large memory that I have. I do remember it was like a very blank look, but it wasn't a blank look at all on his face.
And is that why you lifted your hand? Did you know what was about to happen?
Yes. Yep.
And what is the last thing you remember that day at the school?
The last thing I remember at the school. Obvious, I thought I was dying. I thought I had died. I thought I was either on my way to heaven or in heaven, but then it all got black, and so I then thought I wasn't going there, and then my next memory is I see two coworkers around me, and I process that I'm hurt, and they're putting pressure on where I'm hurt.
Abby, can you describe for the jury a little bit about how you're still feeling physically and emotionally? And I know that's a big question. So Abby, can you tell the jury, when we have lunch together, are you able to open your potato chips, or do I open your potato chips for you?
I asked you, we had, we catered sandwiches in a box, and a small bag of chips and cookies were catered, and I was trying to open the bag of chips on my own multiple times, different ways, trying to hold it different ways, and I eventually asked you to open it. It's the same thing with water bottles. Overall, I would say I do struggle with doing things.
Now, your class went to lunch around 11:15 to 11:45, is that correct?
Yes.
And we've heard about an incident with JT in the lunchroom, and you personally went to Dr. Parker about this incident, correct?
Yes.
And to be clear, when you went to Dr. Parker about this this incident, you did not report to her anything about JT having a weapon?
No.
Did you, knowing that you'd gotten this information that your student might have a gun, did you go speak with him?
I did not. Ms. Kovac was with him.
You had coverage in your classroom. Did you go back to Dr. Parker and say, oh, there's been a change. Now there's a report that he might have a weapon?
At that time, no. Ms. Kovac was in my room investigating the situation. She was observing the student, sitting next to the student, and at that time, I'm trusting Ms. Kovac.
Did you remove JT from your classroom as you had done 2 days prior when you took him by the hand and took him out?
No.
Did you question JT about anything that you had heard?
No. I knew that Amy had told administration, Dr. Parker. I honestly didn't think twice. It was my understanding that administration wouldn't think twice as well.
Ms. Zwerner.
When alerted about a potential gun in school.
First grade teacher Jennifer West testified she saw JT move something from his backpack to his jacket. A student later said he saw a gun. West reported it. Parker was told again, but still nothing happened. Reading specialist Amy Kovac said she confronted JT herself, and when she warned Parker, she barely looked up from her computer. Now, when told the gun might be in his pocket, Parker dismissed it. She said, quote, "He has little pockets." Now, moments later, that shot rang out. Kovac described finding Abby bleeding and holding the 6-year-old until police arrived.
Dr. Klinger, to a reasonable degree of educational and professional probability, do you have any opinion regarding whether Dr. Parker breached professional standards with respect to Ms. Zwerner on January 6, 2023?
I do.
And what is that opinion?
She did not.
And Dr. Parker, to a reasonable degree of educational and professional probability, do you have any opinion regarding whether Dr. Parker was indifferent to Ms. Zwerner on January 6, 2023?
I do.
And what is that opinion?
She was not.
And in the material review, did you see that at some point there was a discussion between Dr. Parker and Mr. Rawls about body searching the student? And do you have, what is your understanding about decisions made in that regard?
There was a discussion about an option for a search of the student, and the approach was cautious, as it would be appropriate to do so. And there was a determination made that when the parent was present, that search could continue.
Okay. And why would it be, in your experience, that a search of a student is something that could be cautious if you're looking for a weapon?
Well, we should always be concerned about the search of a student, regardless of their age. But certainly, and that is not something that any school administrator should enter into lightly. But I think it's really important to think about, this is a 6-year-old, this is a little kid, and we are going to do just at will start doing body searches on kids. That's not any kind of endeavor that anyone should do, especially when they don't have a good amount of intelligence or information that would support that at that point.
Dr. Klinger, do you have any opinion on whether Dr. Parker could have foreseen JT's actions that day based on the information that she had?
I think it would be difficult for anyone to have foreseen that. I think the actions of everyone involved indicate that they were doing an analysis, but yet that they did not perceive this to be a plausible, imminent threat, both the behaviors as well as the actions, because it is a 6-year-old having access to a weapon and bringing it to school, and it is largely unthinkable and certainly unprecedented in terms of the outcome.
You mentioned before about getting good information and how first-line responders are closest to the information. Is that correct?
Yes.
And on this day, it sounds like you're critiquing the information that was passed along to Dr. Parker. Am I interpreting your testimony correctly, that you're critiquing what people shared with Dr. Parker?
Well, I think the nature of what is shared is relevant and important to it. I mean, we have to understand this is a tragic, horrific event for every single person involved. So critique may not be the word, but I think clearly we have to evaluate the nature of the information that was given to her.
Right, and getting good information is a two-way street. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
In other words, you don't think an assistant principal should just sit in their armchair, wait for people to tell them information, and then just decide what to do based on what they tell them, right?
I don't know that that's what happened in this case, because there were other instances going on. There were when Ms. West brought her student, and then sometime in the afternoon cried out for help, and Dr. Parker came because 2 students were fighting in the hallway. So I wouldn't say that she never got out of her chair, because clearly she provided assistance when it was asked for.
Okay, so let's take it step by step.
Okay.
You agree that an assistant principal can't just sit in their chair and wait for information to come to them, true?
I think that an assistant principal can have a reasonable expectation that if there's something she needs to know, people will tell her.
In this case, there was a specific child reported to have had a gun in his book bag, true?
Yes.
And Because communication is a two-way street and getting in good information is a two-way street, you would expect the assistant principal to attempt to get some information herself, true?
Well, according to that statement and the materials that I read, there was a discussion between Ms. Kovac, who was a seasoned educator with a relationship with the student, third in line in the chain of command. There was a discussion between her and Dr. Parker, and Ms. Kovac indicated she was going to go and look in the book bag.
And based upon the information that you received, that she checked the book bag, there was nothing in the book bag, but that there was a report that there was something put in his pocket, true?
That was a report made later, yes.
And you're familiar that in response, Dr. Parker observed that the child's pockets were too little, true?
That's in the materials that's alleged.
And so when we're talking about getting good information, to make sure that we're on the same page regarding good information, when we talk about Miss West and Miss West bringing a child to Dr. Parker, do you recall your previous testimony about that?
She brought him to the office, yes.
In fact, according to Dr. Parker left her office and went and retrieved the child, true?
Which child are we speaking of?
The one that was eloping.
Yes.
So Dr. Parker at some point in time did decide, I'm going to leave my chair and I'm going to go deal with a student.
Yes. I believe she also left her chair when the students had the altercation in the hallway, and also to talk with Miss West about the student she brought in from the playground.
And during those times in which Dr. Parker left her chair, did she go and inquire with the student, JT?
Specifically to the student,
Yes.
JT, or about the student?
To the student, JT.
No.
You've reviewed the next steps, correct?
Yes, I have.
And based on your review of the material, did you see in the records where Ms. Werner secured the students that day?
No, there's no evidence of that in the materials that I reviewed.
Okay. Did Ms. Werner give notice to an administrator immediately, Dr. Parker?
Of this level of these levels of infraction, no.
Now, day 5 brought it all home. From the trauma surgeon who said the bullet in Abby Zwerner's chest is still too dangerous to remove, to her mother who told jurors Abby lives appointment to appointment. Jurors saw photos of Abby in bandages, her arm immobile, learning how to eat and dress herself again. Now, the courtroom fell silent. Then, the closing arguments. The plaintiff told jurors, quote, "Every minute matters," and asked for $40 million, calling this case about accountability. The defense fired back that it was, quote, unthinkable and unprecedented, saying Dr. Parker did her best in real time, not hindsight.
A gun changes everything. At least it should. Except it didn't change the actions of one person. It didn't change where Dr. Parker went. It didn't change what she did. And those choices that she made to treat January 6, 2023 like any other day, even though a gun should change everything, is why we're here today. Around noon on January 6, 2023, there was a communication. And that communication involved a gun and a backpack. And she answered the call. And the question that you have to decide now is, by answering that call, by making the promise that I'm going to find something out, explicitly or implicit, we can talk about other promises later, did her failure to exercise reasonable care, in this case, did her failure to act, to do something, increase the risk of harm to Ms. Zwerner? Or, it's an or question, not an and, did Ms. Zwerner suffer harm because she relied on the third person? That is, she relied on somebody to act. Ms. Kovac says, we think the gun's in the backpack. And according to our expert, Ms. Shufflebarger, as you remember, at that moment, A gun changes everything. A gun changes everything. You stop and you investigate. You get to the bottom of it. You get to the bottom of that backpack. You get to the bottom of his pockets. Whatever it is, you get to the bottom of it to know whether that gun is real and on campus so you can deal with it. But that's not what happened. You cannot stick your head in the sand and then come into court and say, I didn't have the information, when it was your job to find it. When it was your job to look for it and to do the investigation and to talk to that little boy who saw the gun and to talk to those 2 little girls who talked about the gun. And to talk to all of these people, if it's your job to investigate, which their handbook tells them it was, what their job was, these staff members, was to be watchmen and to sound the alarm, and it was the job of administration within each of these policies to answer the call and to come and to do something about it. And each of them sounded the alarm, and they waited on the cavalry, and no one came.
So what happened on January 6, 2023 at Ridge Neck Elementary School? The first person to receive communication about a potential firearm, Amy Kovac. Amy Kovac's text to Dr. Parker 2 days after the incident. Look at this. Amy Kovac to Dr. Parker, you are an amazing person and educator. No one could have ever predicted this. We all did our best. We did what a true teacher will do in this situation. Be there for our children in school. As I look back, I should have sent JT out of the room with a note and a job to deliver it around the school. And I could have gotten that book bag, but I didn't. We can't look back. We can only move forward. I love you and I'm proud to work with you. But that Amy Kovac didn't come to trial. She sat here and she threw shade at Dr. Parker, who was the second person that day to hear about whether JT might have a weapon. It was Miss Zwerner. She was in the classroom when this went on with Miss Kovac, 30, 40 minutes, whatever it was. She sat here and she agreed that discipline is the initial responsibility of the teacher. But there are things she did not do. She did not follow up with the 2 little girls. She did not speak to JT, did not remove the backpack from the room, did not remove JT from the room, did not take JT down to administration, did not evacuate the classroom, did not seek classroom coverage to personally discuss any of this with Dr. Ebony Parker. You saw Amy Klinger, the defense expert. She has a Doctor of Education from the University of Toledo. She's a career educator and administrator. And now she works with school safety. She told you that Dr. Parker did not breach professional standards with respect to Ms. Zwerner on January 6, 2023. Dr. Klinger told you that school safety is everyone's responsibility. It's a collaborative endeavor. School safety concerns do not occur in a vacuum. Every person in a school organization has roles and responsibilities related to school safety, every single person. A school administrator cannot establish the credibility of a potential threat alone. They cannot be everywhere, and they cannot see everything. She told you that it's important that the school administrator get information and disclosures from the people who are closest to the event. I submit to you that Dr. Parker did not assume a duty of care to Ms. Zwerner. She did not breach a duty of care, and that she was not grossly negligent, and it stops there.
After 5 days of testimony and emotional closing arguments, the case was finally in the hands of the jury. 7 citizens from Newport News now faced a difficult decision. Was this a tragic accident or negligence that could have been prevented? Now the wait is over.
We, the jury, on the issues joined, find in favor of the plaintiff, Abigail Zwerner, and assess her damages at $10 million. the award interest beginning on June 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any requests from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
Any requests from the defense?
That we schedule time for post-trial motions.
All right.
And judgment not be entered on the verdict today.
All right. So the court will withhold entry of a judgment order in the case. The court will further reserve all rulings and hearings on post-trial motions for a later date to be set by the parties. Anything else to take up at this time, Mr. Beniozen? Ms. Douglas.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
A major moment, not just for Abby Zwerner, but for teachers everywhere who expect their warnings to be heard. I'm Cody Thomas. Stay safe, stay informed, and join me next time we go back on the record.